Hello board gamers. So I'm going to talk about the races of the Elder Scrolls Betrayal the Second Era board game. And these are all the races you will get in the game. And it's quite a lot, but there are 2 copies of each race in this stack. And that's because if you are playing with a friend or other people, you can basically both make the same, or 2 players can make the same race. So for example, we have Breton here. We have 2 copies. They are exactly the same, just different art, different character picture, but there are no gameplay differences between these. And this simply because if you want to play 2 Breton character, for example, in a 4-player game or something like that. So you get 2 copies of each, and you get either a female or male character. So let's look them closely. So this is a Breton race, and down here you see health, stamina, magicka, combat, and cooldown. Where health is quite simple, it's how much life your character will have. Stamina effects on your moving speed and how many combat dices you can roll. Magicka is same for the magic stuff, so it indicates the range of your spells and how many magicka dice you can roll. For example, some spells or destruction stuff or stuff like that. And combat, it's basic combat dice that can be used in different stands to either make damage or defense, or that's the main thing. And all these can also make tenacity, which is used for a simple way as bones in Too Many Bones. It's kind of a misroll, but it increases your tenacity level that can be used to use different abilities you have. And cooldown indicates how many dices you will get back from your cooldown on your player board. So all these races have also a unique ability that you can use once in a battle. For example, Breton has Opportunist. Once per battle, when you overtax a weapon or armor, return that item to package instead of discarding it. You may then move a different item in your pack to a ready slot. So this can be quite strong if you have a really amazing weapon or armor. You can once in a combat use the overtax. Usually when you do the overtax, you will lose the item permanently. It's once in game ability, but the Breton will allow you to use the overtax once in a battle, and you will still get the item back. It just moves to your pack, and you are not discarding it, so it can be quite amazing. And you can also get another item from your inventory to your active. You can have only 4 items active and 4 in your pack. So yeah, it's a really strong ability. And if you look Breton more closely, it has high HP. 5 is the max you can get from the starting character. It has 3 magicka, which is a good base for a spellcaster also. Only 1 combat die. That can be a little bit problematic for some builds, but it's kinda, you are able to do a lot of stuff with the Breton class. So let's compare it to Red Guard. So Red Guard has 4 HP, 3 stamina, 2 magicka, 3 combat, and only 1 cooldown. So as you can see, this has a 1 HP lower health pool, but it has 1 more stamina, 1 lesser magicka, but 2 more combat dice, and only 1 cooldown. That's quite hard to start the game with just 1 cooldown. But they have Adrenaline Rush ability. Once per battle during your turn, remove after 3 fatigue or status dice from your cooldown track and heal for 1 HP for each die removed. If the total HP recovered exceeds your health stat, it is gained as bonus HP. So basically, this Adrenaline Rush allows you to cool down 3 bad dices like fatigue and status dice from your cooldown track, and you can also heal yourself. So that kind of compensates the low cooldown. But other than that, 3 stamina, 3 combat dice, it's an amazing starting point. For example, something like a bow user or something like that, you can shoot from a 3 distance, you can roll 3 dices, and you will have 3 combat dice allow. You don't have to cool down that much because you have more dice to use. Of course, after the battle, if you have a lot of dice on cooldown, you kind of have to rest at the nearest town or something like that. But yeah, it's quite different from a Breton if you look at it. Simply because the combat and cooldown are way different on these two. So next we have a High Elf, and it also has 4 HP, 2 stamina, 4 magicka, 1 combat and 2 cooldown. So from the look of the High Elf, it looks like it's a solid base for a spellcaster because it has a high magicka, low combat. You don't kind of need the combat that much. You can of course use it as a spellcaster. It's not useless, but I think it's a good starting point to have 4 magicka instead of 1 more combat and 1 lesser magicka. And the ability is Surabane's Boon. Once per battle during a turn, place any adventurer in an unoccupied entrance tile hex and heal them for 3 HP. So this is kind of cool. You can be kind of healer. You can teleport one of your allies to a entrance tile and give them 3 HP. Really, really cool stuff. And next we have Imperial. Again, 5 HP, 2 stamina, 2 magicka, 2 combat, 2 cooldown. So kind of middle of everything. You have 2 of everything, high HP. It's easy to build anything around this guy. Of course, if you want to get up to 4 magicka, you're gonna have to spend a lot of XP. But it's kind of middle of everything. You can do a lot of stuff with this guy, and you are not limited to any path. And the ability Imperial Medal, once per battle when you would deal 3 or fewer damage, prevent that damage, instead gain that much tenacity. So you can once in a battle prevent up to 3 damage and you will get a tenacity back. And tenacity is again used for different kind of abilities. I will talk more about those in my next video because they are a way different thing than the race. So, but yeah, it's an important aspect of the game. I kinda don't know which one is actually better, heal 3 and teleport, or prevent up to 3 and gain tenacity. This kinda needs 2 or 3 damage hit, so you don't want to use it on 1 damage hit, but on the other hand, 3 hit with 3 prevent and 3 tenacity is really, really strong stuff. So then we have the other red card. We already saw what red card does. And then we have Arconian. Again, 5 health, 3 stamina, 2 magicka, 1 combat, 2 cooldown. Kinda basic stuff. Yeah, weird to see that it doesn't have high magicka or high combat either. So if you compare it to something like red card, it kinda has way lesser stats. Well, only 2 combat dice lesser, so not that much. But yeah, it doesn't kinda lean on the magicka or either the combat. It just have high stamina. So I guess you can choose what you want to do with this base stats. And the ability is Arconian Resistance. Once per battle, when you would be dealt damage, prevent all of that damage. So kinda similar to Imperial, but this will prevent all the damage, while this prevents up to 3 but gives you tenacity. So maybe in the early game this is weaker, but in the late game when you might receive, for example, 5 damage on 1 hit, this is amazing ability. And then we have Dark Elf, 4 HP, 2 stamina, 3 magicka, 2 combat, 2 cooldown. So if you compare it to the High Elf, it's a little bit different, like 1 lesser magicka, 1 more combat, but it's nearly the same. So this can of course be a solid spellcaster or some kind of hybrid. You still have 2 combat dice. A lot of options here. And the ability is dynamic. Once per battle during your turn, recover any 4 skill dice from your cooldown track, replacing each with light fatigue. So you can quickly gain back 4 important skill dice, but you will get a lot of light fatigue on your cooldown track. So it's kinda emergency skill, and after you use it, you might be in a problem near future. Then we have Nord, and she has 4 HP, 2 stamina, 2 magicka, 3 combat, and 2 cooldown. So heavily leaning on the combat. And in the picture you have bow, and here you have one hand sword and shield. So that kind of gives you the idea that this might be a good bow or shield sword combination user. The ability is Reveler. Once per battle, when performing an engage in that's range, that's a heavy and that's a light weapon stance, add 1 enemy combat die to your engage plus an enemy combat die for each weapon in your inventory. So if you have a lot of weapons in your inventory, you can kinda hit really hard with this ability. It's a little bit weird. It might not be usable in many situations, but it can be really strong when you hit it at the right time. And then we have a Wood Elf. Again, if we compare it to the other elves, this is really different. Wood Elf has 1 more HP, 3 stamina, only 1 magicka, 2 combat, 2 cooldown. So the other 2 elves are more magic users, while Wood Elf is not at all a magic user. So it's kinda with high stamina and 2 combat dice, a good bow character, I would say. And the ability Hunter's Eye, once per battle before any unit's turn, apply a stealth status die up to 2 party members in play. So you can hide from your enemy. That is also kind of ranged bow combat thing. So yeah, it definitely seems to be the solid base for a bow user. And we have Urk, 5 HP, 2 stamina, 2 magicka, 1 combat, and 3 cooldown. So this is the only character with 3 cooldown, and it's really amazing to have 3 cooldown. And of course high HP also. And the ability Swift Warrior, once per battle after the end of turn, gain 1 over fatigue and take an immediately extra turn. So you can take 1 more turn instantly, and with 3 cooldown base stat, that's a really amazing combination. You can kinda cool down 6 dices in 1 turn when you use the Swift Warrior ability. Really strong stuff. And then we have Khajiit, 4 HP, 3 stamina, 2 magicka, 2 combat, 2 cooldown. So middle of everything, I would say. High stamina and decent magic and combat also. And the ability is good purse. Once per battle, you may automatically succeed at a lockpick check without rolling any dice, then move up to 5 hexes. So it's a free lockpick thing. So Khajiit is able to kind of collect much more items than other character would be. And you can just once in a battle use this ability, just automatically open any lockpick just like that. So During the session in Act 1 and Act 2, you can kinda collect a lot of items with this. It can be really strong. Of course, all the loot is random. You might get the wrong items if you are playing, for example, heavy weapon build and you are just getting something that affects on bows or something like that. It might go wrong way for you, but yeah, really nice ability. And then we have just double copies of Khajiit, Orc, Imperial, Wood Elf, Fire Elf, Nord, Arconian, and Dark Elf. So that's all the different races you have in the game, and that's a lot of. Even that you have 2 copies of each, it's a lot of races to pick, and they are quite different from each other. So it's really, really nice. So on my next video, I will be talking more about the classes, and finally we will have a video for all the different skills you can use in the game. But that's all for now. Thanks for watching. Bye.